Yes, indeed. We are back up in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Man. Y'all know what time it is. So, I just got done not too long ago with the watch party with Boss Cowboy, and it was a soft watch party, you know, because, yeah, we were looking at the Packers and Eagles, but really there was an overwhelming turn and shift to, obviously, the Dallas Cowboys. So there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on, and at the same time, it's not enough going on. But it's cool, because guess what? This one here, Amp, got that fire for you. I got that fire for you because I got something I need to say to Jerry and Steven. And I need them to hear me when I say this. I need them to be listening with both ears as we embark on the off season. But you know, in Dallas, it ain't no such thing as an off season. Oh no, because there is plenty of work to do. So y'all go ahead, sit back, sit tight while your boy Amp gets right. Because at the end of the day, we gonna be all right. How you doing, Miss Regina? I see you. Let's go.
Yeah.
Hey, yo, DJ, drop that beat for me, dog.
Twizzy is my producer, beats all the time.
Let's go.
I'm just here to let you know we been hustling 24/7, 365, get that dope. Don't know when I'm gon' stop, cause that paper feels so good. Turning and gripping grain, leather seats with the wood. And she loves to roll with me, she hold it down shotgun. Windows tinted, so you know she blow me shotgun. And I'm riding in the whip to the money.
Drop y'all.
They come back in for the money.
Hey.
Certified, come and get that kid right. I'm see the world been a key. Come take a flight, I can see it now.
Amp winning the Grammy.
Haters gon' be mad.
And no, they can't stand, man.
It's so cool.
I'm just repping for my team.
Check the stats, pimpin'. We playin' for that rain.
No flexing.
Sit back, watch me do me. If you ain't heard,
They love it. They love it. They love it. Let's go.
And they know, and they know, and they know, and they know, and they know. They love my shit.
They love my shit.
They love my shit.
They love my shit.
And they know, 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 and they know. They love my shit.
They love my shit.
They love my shit.
Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you should be in bed. But you are now tuned into yours truly, Mr. Always Making Plays. And y'all, I have a special, and I mean a special episode tonight. Yes, Amp is in some different attire. That's because it is a special occasion, y'all. Miss Regina, I appreciate you for sharing, ma'am. Y'all come on in. Y'all get comfortable. Y'all have a seat because you are truly in store for a treat. Ladies and gentlemen, as I glance up at the television, I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing the Washington Commodes. And honestly, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Matter of fact, I need to rinse that out. That's right, y'all. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth because when I look at our team, I look at our organization. When we all sat down and looked at this team at the beginning of the year, we said, man, a lot of us felt like, even if you didn't think we were going to go 12-5 again, we all felt like we had enough to at least get back into the dance. And unfortunately, after a horrible stream of events, injury after injury, you know, first year defensive coordinator to this squad, Mike Zimmer, you know, it didn't quite work out. It didn't work out. And that's cool. But if we do not learn from our mistakes on this year, next season could be even worse. And from what I'm seeing so far, we are not trending in the right direction. So I felt that it was time for me to bring forth this presentation that I have been working on for some time now. And I have compiled a series of points and things that the Jones family needs to focus on heading into the off season. And that's everything from free agency to the draft to the locker room. I have it all laid out. Now, you know, and I'm not poo-pooing on any content creators because there are so many Dallas Cowboys content creators that I call my brothers and sisters, i.e. Boss Cowboy, OC, Coach Marv, J Tuck, Rome. I mean, West Coast. I mean, there are a lot of guys who I really respect. Star, my girl Mickey. There are so many people who have studied this team and do the homework and really come up with some well thought out plans of how to make this team a better version of themselves. Now, for all practical purpose, you could say at 7-10, oh, well, the sky is up from here. And yes, it is. But guess what? 7-10 ain't the bottom. Okay? So some content creators I've seen have displayed some extreme forms of anger and rage and frustration. And don't get me wrong, your boy been upset. But I have decided to take that anger and that frustration, and I've decided to dig down a little bit deeper. And I begin to think, instead of just, status quo and, just having a rant, if you will, I'm going to be a little bit more tactful, a little bit more constructive. So I begin to think, if I had the opportunity, if they said, hey, we going to give you, Amp, you got an hour. Say they brought me in as some type of outside consultant, if you will. Amp has formulated a plan of 7 points that the Jones family needs to focus on next year. Now, we are 1 week into the off season, and you've seen some teams that have already gotten to work. They brought individuals in, candidates in. First off, even before that, let's backtrack. You've had organizations who have already determined the individuals that they have on staff are no longer needed. GMs have been fired, coaches have been fired. And in just a week in, and I just found this out before we jumped on live earlier, the New England Patriots, yes, have already named Mike Vrabel as their new head coach. Now, if you've been following AMP, you know that Mike Vrabel was one of the individuals who I thought could potentially be a candidate to replace Mike McCarthy in the event that the Cowboys decided that his services were no longer needed. Now, we all know that Chicago had requested to interview Mike McCarthy, and Jerry and Steven politely said no. Now, on the surface, you would think and allude to the fact of, well, if they did that, apparently that means that they want Mike back, or they're open to having Mike back, right? And that's still how I feel. That's still how I'm thinking. But y'all, we moving slow. And see, this was not a point, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this at the top of my points. This ain't point 1. This is point 5. Okay. Slow feet don't eat, y'all. And I mean, that's across the board. You can put that as far as free agency, as far as players are concerned, but that also applies to the coaching field as well. And so for Mike Vrabel to be one of the candidates, and he's already been snatched off the board, and here it is on Sunday, we're barely a week removed from the regular season, and teams have already decided, hey, that's who I want. Yeah, I know we fell out of playoff contention very late, but you've had 5 years to evaluate this individual. You should know whether you want to retain him or not. But guess what? As Boss Cowboy put today, what do we know that the Joneses love more than they love football? Y'all tell me. It's real simple. Very easy. They like their money. And we know that they get more money, as I did in the show earlier. They make more money when what? We do this. We click, right? So, by being slow, what we don't know is, well, what we do know is that guys get snatched up. So, that brings me to my first point, y'all. And y'all, please excuse my chicken scratch. The first topic of discussion of this off season is leadership. That's right, leadership. For this team to be able to turn things around, it will be imperative that we are led by strong leadership. And when I talk about leadership, I'm not just talking about a head coach. I'm not just talking about a player. I'm talking about the general manager too as well. And when we talk leadership, y'all, and I'm going to make this short. When we talk leadership, we need to have somebody in place who can set the vision and the direction for the team. And I think we all will agree that leadership is crucial to a winning culture. Leadership, that I feel, is what this team is missing. Now, Mike McCarthy has shown that he has some great leadership qualities. But is he a good leader himself? Is he someone who sets the standards and holds players to these standards? Look at your GM. Does your GM possess good leadership qualities? And at times I feel he absolutely does. But whether it's Mike McCarthy or it's Mike Vrabel or it's Mike Zimmer or it's Mike Tomlin, whomever that individual is, you got to be a leader. If Coach Marv would hear, he would say we need a leader of men. And I believe Mike McCarthy can do that. But that also requires a certain level of support from your superiors, from upper level management. You got to be able to lead. The vision is important, extremely important, because when you sit there and you look at these players that we currently have on the roster and you look at the core key pieces, you have to be able to see the final product before it actually happens. Sometimes you have individuals who they may be great at X's and O's and they may be a great disciplinarian. But what good is all of that if you don't have a vision for the organization? I would like to think that Jerry and Steven both have a vision of what they want this team to look like. Now, my vision of this team is not what took place this season. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. How do they say it starts at the top? I believe that wholeheartedly. Even in my own home, I'm a husband first. I'm a father. I do a lot of things. But as the head of my household, even I have to have a vision for what I want my home to look like. I have to have a vision for what I want my relationship to look like with my wife. I have to have a vision for what I want my relationship to look like with my children. What I want my children's relationship to look like with their mother. That is important. I want y'all to understand this. Because if you don't have any vision, you're just flying by the seat of your pants. And quite honestly, y'all, at times when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, it feels as if we are doing, or they are doing, a lot of things without a clear-cut vision. Like, I feel like we try a lot of things. Oh, let's try running back by committee. Oh, let's try receiver by committee. I need them to know. Because guess what? Once you have a vision and start making decisions to help fulfill that vision, it makes it easier when you start to skew off of that line. Hold on, something is not right here. This is not how I envision things, right? And so before it gets too far to the left or to the right, you start making adjustments. And so that leads me to my second point. This ain't working. Y'all bear with me. I had to get another marker. So you got to be able to, as Law said, fly that plane while it's in the air. But my second point is, oh Lord, that one tripping too. Boy, guess what? It's a good thing I got a third. Come on, baby. Third time the charm. Yeah, it is. There we go. As Shannon Sharp would say, there you go. My second point. And y'all let me know if y'all can see this. Hold on, let me pull this back so I can see if y'all can see what I see. Big Time was good. Good to have you here, my guy. Second point of this evening. So not only do we need to have solid leadership, but Jerry and Steven and Mike and a lot of teams are doing this around the league currently. You have to be able to properly evaluate your talent. So, you know, for those of us who do not have the privilege of playing additional football games, once individuals start cleaning out their lockers, they set up a series of meetings with management, and they sit down and have these discussions about evaluating what took place this year for that particular player, for that particular position group, for that particular side of the ball, how to make it better, what they don't want to do going forward, and what they would like to do going forward. Everybody does it. Everybody does it. But guess what? It doesn't stop there. You got to be able to do it for the individuals who are in the building and for the individuals who have yet to walk across the doorstep of the building. See, you have to be able to assess your current roster and identify areas where you need improvement. See, when we were looking at the watch party earlier, I did a little trick. I asked a question and I said, right now, y'all tell me, and you could do it in the chat now. Y'all tell me what areas, what position groups do you feel, and not even position groups, if it's a facet of the team that you feel that needs to be improved, go ahead and put that in the chat for you. Because this is not just a one-step process. This is a multi-step process. You evaluate what you already have, you evaluate what you would like to get, and you evaluate as far as free agency, and you evaluate what you would like to get as far as the draft is concerned. So yes, it's new talent, it's free agents, something else that we don't do a whole lot of, but I would like them to be a little bit more open to, and that's trades. Because guess what? If you have evaluated a player and he shows some potential, but he might not necessarily be the best fit for you, you need to evaluate that. And then start looking at some potential areas where that individual or teams or organization where that player can go, where they might fit. Exactly. See, Big Time said exactly. He said, we're behind Philly and Washington now. We need dogs. Can't live now off of the draft and development plan anymore. Yes, it's good, but y'all, considering the fact that we have 22 individuals who are getting ready to become free agents, they are a part of the process too. We have to evaluate them. We need to decide, are they worth keeping or do we need to kick them out the door? You know, I asked Boss during the show, I said, hey, how you feel about Osa? I like Osa. He likes Osa. A lot of us like Osa, but unfortunately, because we know the Jones family, we feel like he may have played his way out of Dallas. Miss Regina said Jerry let everyone walk last year. How do you stop that? See, and that's the part that kind of gets me, because Jerry and Steven talk about draft and develop, but I think they need to talk about another part of that process. There's another word that they're missing off of the end of that statement. Draft, develop, retain. I don't feel like we do that enough. Tony Parsons. I mean, not Tony Parsons, Lord Jesus. I got Mike on the brain. Y'all forgive me. Tony Pollard drafted him, developed him, and shipped him. He could have been of some assistance this year. Tennessee ain't the greatest organization, but I think, if I'm not mistaken, he still had another 1,000-yard season. That's talent that you drafted. You spent draft resources on him. You spent capital on him. Matter of fact, you spent the franchise tag on him. And then you let him walk. That's a waste of an investment, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I don't know what it was as far as the negotiations and the price tag is concerned, but you have to take these things into account. See, when you draft and develop, you need to be preparing to retain. They talk about it, but a lot of times I don't feel like they be about it. And they give us this bogus excuse talking about it's less pie to go around. Make it work. You can manipulate the numbers. Make it work. Stop using that as a cop-out. That's what I feel it is. It's a cop-out. So, yes, we have to evaluate the talent. And that goes for coaching, too. You can look around the coaching room and you can look at each one of them and say, hey, this guy needs to be here. Or, hey, yeah, we could really do without that coach. Yeah, I would really like a different type of individual in there. Or, yeah, I would like somebody who's a little bit more in tune with that position group. That's all a part of the process. But again, everything is getting slowed down because slow feet don't eat. And we have yet to make they have yet to make a decision, or at least announce to us that they've made a decision about this team's leadership. Honestly, it sickens me, y'all. It sickens me, because you see people getting snatched up and it's like, man, we could have used them. Man, we could have used them. Come on, y'all. Jerry and Steven, you have to understand that as bad as this season was and as upset as fans are, we would like to see y'all just once not be so worried about clicks and actually move with some sense of urgency. We should have received a notification before close of business on Friday that breaking news, the Dallas Cowboys have retained Mike McCarthy for an additional, I don't know how many, or the Dallas Cowboys have decided they are going to move on from head coach Mike McCarthy. Something. I just... Now, the next point, I kind of touched on it, and I don't know if y'all caught it. And y'all please excuse the chicken scratch. Look, I am not an artist. I don't have great handwriting, calligraphy, but it's legible. My mama been trying to work with me with that since I've been in kindergarten. But guess what? I just don't have a steady hand, y'all. But that brings us to our third point. So you have leadership. You have talent evaluation. And that brings me to my third point. Player development. Now, we have to be able to focus on developing the skills of not only existing players, but potential players. And this includes coaching, training, and providing the right resources for player growth. Now, it was a lot. It was a lot right there. The players come to us raw. They come to us unrefined. When those players walk across that threshold and into the star, it is Jerry, Stevens, Wills, Mike's, and the entire coaching staff's responsibility to give these individuals the resources, the training, and the coaching that it takes to get them to their most optimum point. It has to happen. You don't draft a guy, bring him in here and says, hey, this is where we drafted you at. This is where you should be. No. Now, are they a blank canvas? Absolutely not, because they played far too much football to be a blank canvas. But they are still moldable when they come in here. We gotta be able to develop these players. And what do we have, like 9 or 10 draft picks this year? You got to be able to develop them. You saw what poor development looked like for Mozzie year one. Am I right? We saw what poor development looked like for Schoonmaker year one. And we were all ready to poo-poo on them and ship them out. Those individuals have shown improvement. You get Mike Zimmer in here. You get Mozzie on a different scheme. And a little bit more time. And a little bit more strength and conditioning, because he needed it, because we saw it at the beginning of the season. What was Mozzie doing, y'all? You tell me. You watched the Cowboys play this year at the very early parts of the season, especially the first game, really the first 5-6 games. What was Mozzie doing early on in games? He looked like he was out of shape. That's part of player development. Now, I know y'all gonna like this next one. I know y'all gonna like this one. This is a popular one. 4th point. And guess what? All of these points that I'm presenting to y'all are dependent upon the first part, and that's leadership. I'm going to read some of these comments before I get to this first point. So Big Time says wide receiver, linebacker, defensive tackle, cornerback. And guess what? The funny part about what you said is when I took a look around the chat as far as what people felt our biggest needs were, in no particular order were those 4. So what I do appreciate from the fan base is the fact that as far as needs, for the most part, we're roughly all on the same page. You might change order because of how draft may fall or what you feel is more of a need than the other, but we all agree those 4 are a need. Let's see what other comments we got in here. Big Time said the results of the season should have pushed the urgency. See, that's my point. I got this bad taste in my mouth because I'm watching the playoffs and we ain't in it. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Jerry and Steven are sitting on their hands. Slow feet don't eat. You're going to hear me say that until I'm blue in the face, until I'm cowboy blue in the face. Miss Regina said, I think the line is blurred when deciding if you play a drafted player over one that's been here for a few years. I do. I agree. And she also said that's Jerry deciding opposed to a coach. That's, see, now you're talking about structural makeup and who has responsibility of what and how much power they give Mike, and that's a show by itself, Miss Regina. But you hit one right there. Major issue. And the players are getting tired of it, and they've made statements about it, including your quarterback, Dak Prescott. He said Mike needs to be able to come back and do things more on his terms. I agree with that. My thing is, why would you hire somebody, bring them in here to do a job, and then try and do the job for them? Like, what did you hire him for? Why not just be the GM and coach and just cut the coach out altogether and pay your damn self? And instead of sitting up there in your luxury box, come on down on the field and put a headset on and see how far you get. So that, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to my fourth point. Y'all gonna like this one. Team culture. Team culture. Now, Big Benny Rich, what's up? Good to have you in the building. Team culture. That is one that you have heard a lot in Cowboys Nation. Jerry and Steven, we have to be able to build a positive and cohesive team culture where our players are not only motivated, but they're disciplined, and most importantly, they're committed to the team's goals. I said committed to the team's goals, not their own personal goals or, their own benchmarks for themselves. And that's cool to have. I'm not poo-pooing on that. But it's got to be about the team. It's got to be about making everybody better. It's got to be about strengthening your weakest link. It's got to be about having an attitude, a bravado, a moxie, if you will. When you step on that field, your coach should have empowered you to feel like you can compete with anybody, like nobody should be able to beat you. But when you start talking about culture, there's a word in there that we miss, and that's accountability. Being accountable for one another, being accountable for yourself, aids to a positive team culture. You look at what's going on in Detroit right now, and you tell me their culture isn't changed. See, that's why I love Cowboy fans. Miss Regina says it sounds like too many Chiefs, not Kansas City. See, that might have went over some of y'all's head, but I got it. Your leaders help set the tone for the culture. Do we want an organization where it's all glitz and glam and football is an afterthought? No, because that's what we're getting now. I told y'all, this has to be first. That's the problem. This ain't first. I'm tired of this not being first. That's the first thing that's wrong with the culture. It's more about the bottom line than the D line or the O line. You want to create an environment where players feel like not only is this where I'm supposed to be, but I feel like I'm being elevated, being optimized, being invested in to my strengths. I want to have a culture in Dallas to where we aren't planning victory parties before we step on the field. Everybody knows Dallas is what? Hollywood. And that's cool, you know. Everybody want to get a little flashy, a little, you know, slizzy every now and then, you know. But I want my organization, I want my players to be trained killers, you know, when they step on the field. This nice helping your opponent up and talking glowingly about them. It gets under my skin, y'all. Like, at the end of the day, I'm still a player in my mind. It was some things that we would not dare do on the field. Being nice with the enemy, who, and I know this is a new generation and I ain't that far removed from the field. I got some gray. I ain't got that many. It's still more, it's still more black than gray. But team culture is essential. This got to be first. You look at teams who have kind of been bottom of the league for some time now. I'm looking up at Washington. And as much as I can't stand them, I have to admit that Dan Quinn has brought a winning culture to that organization. This is the best record they've ever had. And they've won a Super Bowl. And this is the best record they've had. They've won way more games than they lost this year. I wouldn't mind having that record because guess what? We had it the last 3 years. I feel like we done flip-flop spots with Washington. They used to be the 7-10 team. And now we on the couch looking at them. Keystone, what's up, man? Hey, better late than never, dog. Glad to have you in the building. I know you've been working hard, dog. I'm just out here laying a couple of steps down. So for those who may have come in late, like my guy Keystone, look, how the saying goes, we listen and we don't judge. I'm going to go ahead and outline it for you, and I'm going to run it down real quick. So this is my sales pitch to Jerry and Steven, and I have 7 points here. We've already presented 4, but the first one is leadership. We have to hire a strong head coach and general manager who can set the vision and direction for the team. Leadership is crucial in creating a winning culture. Second point, talent evaluation. We have to be able to assess the current roster. We have to identify areas where we need improvement, and that may include drafting talent, signing free agents, or making trades. Third point is player development. We have to be able to focus on developing the skills of not only the current players, but potential players as well. And that includes coaching, training, and providing the right resources for player growth. And then that brings us to our most current point that we were talking about, and that is team culture. And we have to be able to build a positive and cohesive culture where players are not only motivated and disciplined, but they're committed to not personal goals, but team goals. And so that brings me to our fabulous 5th point. Strategic planning. Strategic planning. See, a lot of times, and even under Mike McCarthy's, under his tenure, I feel like, and I said this earlier, like we try a lot of things. I want us to start hitting these things and look at these individuals we have, evaluate, and come up with a plan that is going to work for the team. I'm not talking about doing something because we've been doing it or I've been doing it for 30 years and it's worked. No, every situation, every case is different. Every group of players is different. Even if you don't have any turnover from 24 to 25 and your roster is exactly the same, you may have to tweak some things. Because guess what? Teams like Washington, they go back to the drawing board. Guess what? They continue to draft more players. And guess what? We saw it even in our own division. Teams don't just stay where they are, they attempt to get better. Now, this strategic planning will involve developing a clear game plan and strategy for both the offense, defense, and special teams. That includes play calling. That includes game management. And that includes what I alluded to just a few moments ago, adapting to your opponent's strengths and weaknesses. Okay, guess what? So when you looked at Philly 2 years ago, you said, man, boy, we need to have a strong secondary because them boys got A.J. Devontae and they got Dallas Goedert. Well, guess what? They didn't stay the same. They got better. They didn't add it on Saquon. They've added a different nuance and different wrinkle to their game. So now it's not just about defending pass anymore. Now they have made the run game a sincere staple in their offense. That goes for defense as well too. Areas that you may have been able, that they may have been previously susceptible to, they've gotten stronger. Oh, see, Miss Regina, you keep talking like that. You're gonna need to get your own channel. That's some good stuff. She said analytics are not helpful if you don't analyze yourself. And that's my point. We got to be real here. We got to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, we weren't good at this. You got to have those uncomfortable conversations, because it's through those uncomfortable conversations where growth occurs. So we have to be very strategic in our planning. And I'm looking at your teams, and guess what? I am 4-0 in predicting the playoffs this year. I should have bet, and I probably should have bet with BetUS, as Boss Cowboy and the other content creators have suggested. But every team so far in the playoffs, if you look at it, you could say, the home team won every game. Yeah, that's true. But if you really look a little bit deeper and analyze, as Miss Regina says, you will see that all four teams that have won so far this playoffs are the teams whose offense outrushed the other team. And it's not even close. It's a landslide, y'all. Hey, but we're going to take a pause for the calls right now. If you haven't done so, go ahead and like this stream. Go ahead and share it to your Cowboys haters and your Cowboy neighbors, If you feel so moved, it's on the screen. Drop a love offering in the Cash App. I definitely appreciate it. I will definitely use it to help invest back into the channel and help improve the nation. But quick rundown: leadership, talent evaluation, player development, team culture. Number 5, strategic planning. And ladies and gentlemen, we only got 2 more points. I told you I wasn't going to be before you long. That brings us to our 6th point. And this is a big one because I actually predicted this over the course of the last off season. And honestly, it's an area where I feel that we struggled at and we failed at miserably this year. Injury management. I'm going to say it again. Injury management. Big time. I hope you are still in here. Some of y'all may remember, some of y'all may not, but during last off season, I did a joint show with Boss Cowboy and the Big Time Show, and we had that was a phenomenal show. But I said, you know what? And it was divine at the time. But I said, we have been. I'm gonna change the mood up. We have been fairly blessed when it comes to the injury bug. But then when I looked at the individuals we lost last off season and what we didn't do in free agency and what we were able to do in the draft, I said, man, we have been blessed with a relatively healthy organization. Even going into the playoffs last time, we were a pretty healthy team. And I said, but unfortunately, if the injury bug hits you this season, we will definitely feel it. And you know why Amp said that? Because the players that we lost, it was some key depth pieces. And we let them walk out the door because we felt like we can do without their services. And guess what? The injury bug started biting. And it bit player after player after player after player. And it was like, good God. And then guess what? We would find and discover backups, and they would step up and rise to the occasion and next man up, like we always pound our fist at here in Dallas. And then guess what? The backup started getting hurt, y'all. And I said, hold on, wait a minute. Wait one funky minute. Britt Brown, what's going on, sir? Now, he had done pretty good. You might just say, hey, maybe we had some bad luck this year. I like to think otherwise. Something to me had to have happened, because it wasn't necessarily a position group either. It was across the board. And I mean, it wasn't just a nick here and there. I'm talking about season-ending injuries, y'all. Soft tissue injuries. And to me, that says two things. That says a poorly conditioned team, a team who is not limber. I don't know, they may need to get back to yoga like we saw a couple of years ago on Hard Knocks. And then the time before that, I mean, we had Zach Martin on the show literally getting his ass muscle stretched. Do y'all remember that? What is his name? The linebacker, Zach Thomas. He was getting his ass muscle stretched on Hard Knocks. Them glutes, yes. But all of that, even though it may seem like, no, all of that is essential. Proper stretching is important. Conditioning is important, because guess what? When you get tired, your body starts to compensate and you start cutting corners and your form is not what it should be. And you start doing movements that your body is not accustomed to. And then that's when the injuries happen. We even had some dudes a couple of times, it was non-contact. So this ain't just because of the physicality of the game. It's because we weren't ready for the game. You got to prime yourself before you step on that field. And I think this organization did a serious disservice to its players by not having them ready to play. Being ready to play does not mean, okay, you know all the plays. Being ready to play touches on a lot of things. Being conditioned enough, being strong enough. All of those things matter. All of those things matter. But yes, injury management is going to be important. Am I saying the Cowboys need to fire Britt Brown and the training staff? No, because they've done, for the most part, a pretty masterful job at keeping this team healthy. But if y'all tried something new last year, you might want to revert back to whatever it is that you were doing prior to. Now, Keystone, Mike told on himself when he first played against San Fran in the playoffs. Yeah, I agree. And Keystone said nutrition is average. Yeah. Philly is ranked 29th in passing. It showed today. We know why. That's another story, and that's another show, Keystone. Great point. So, I'm going to hit y'all with another recap. First point. In order for Jerry and Steven to turn this thing around, it's going to require 1, strong leadership, 2, successful talent evaluation, 3, player development, 4, a positive team culture, 5, strategic planning, 6, injury management. And that brings me to our 7th and final point. Y'all gonna like this one. Y'all really gonna like this one. Fan engagement. Now, fans are essential. I'd like to even think of them as a lifeline to the team. Teams with strong fan bases and strong support go a long way. Your fan engagement can help create a home field advantage, and in the Joneses case, can also generate additional revenue for your team. Revenue that can be used on additional resources for the team. You know, I've heard at the Star, I've been to the Star, but I hadn't been in the Star. But I've heard that the training facilities are pretty nice. But because of the culture that we have and the type of environment that Jerry and Steven have created, or as Dalton Schultz would say, it's a zoo, dog. When you have the tours that go on and fans walk by and they beating on the glass and everything, yes, you are engaging the fans. But it may be good for the fans, but is it good for the players? That's questionable. But also, when we talk about fan engagement, one of the biggest stories that came out of Oxnard on last year, and Oxnard is another conversation, and honestly, I think our time that we spent in Oxnard this year, which is last year, which is the most the team has ever had, kind of led to possibly the poor conditioning aspect of things. I think camp was just a little bit too soft. But going back to my point, one of the biggest stories that came out of Oxnard last year, because people were so upset after the Green Bay game, and yeah, that Green Bay team that I saw today did not look like the Green Bay team that played us last playoffs. They look like a team that was super deficient as far as talent is concerned. Now, engagement with the fans. We talked about this on the live stream in the watch party earlier. We were debating about whose voice was louder, the players or the fans. Players are employees. That's an expense. The fans are a resource. But one thing that I want to urge you, speaking to myself, the fans, is we have to come together and be unanimous in our stance for what we want from this organization. Because when we speak loud, unanimously they move. When we all over the place, it's like, y'all don't know what y'all want. I'm gonna keep it moving. Next, just like the cafeteria lady. You want white meat or dark meat? I mean, I like wings and all, but it's just so much easier to eat a leg, you know. Lady, what do you want? White meat or dark meat? And that's how I feel with the fans. Like, we don't know what we want, and because we don't know what we want, they are reluctant to make a decision. Kimmy Nelson, that is a great point. It's a two-edged sword because supporting the team puts money in Jerry's pockets. Front office needs to feel the loss financially. And see, you actually ahead of me. See, that's what I was getting at. What happened at Oxnard, y'all? One of the biggest stories is, oh my God, it's empty out here. Where are the fans? Home, pissed off. And you saw it this year. Now, yes, fans of other teams would like to come to. You see it all around me in good old Jerry's world. They want to come to one of the wonders of the world, Jerry's world, when their team comes to Dallas. In some games we had, it was more other fans than it was us. New Orleans came in there, showed up, and showed out, threw a party, y'all. What was that, down Collins or something like that? Right outside the stadium. Threw a party in our city. And not our, I don't live there, but our Dallas Cowboys. Threw a parade after they beat us. That is disheartening. We shouldn't be experiencing that. But some people were fed up. And guess what? If the product, I'm not one who, now, yes, there are some Cowboys fans who will support the Cowboys no matter what. They're going to spend their money. They're going to buy new paraphernalia every year. They're going to go to the games. They're going to continue to re-up on their season tickets. They're going to do that. And I mean, a lot of us, that's part of what makes us diehard fans, right? But I'm also a believer that sometimes you got to teach people a lesson. And I'm also of the thought that actions speak louder than words. Because we can rant and rave on social media all we want to, and oh my God, I hate Jerry. He ain't never gonna win nothing. You can do all of that. Put your money where your mouth is. That's what I'm saying. Show support of the individuals who you feel have the right ideas for the team. People like myself, people like Boss Cowboy, people like Tuck, people like Star, people like Rome, people like DMV, people like Law, people like Mark Holmes. Those are the individuals you should support. Help us get bigger so our voice can be bigger. So we can make these sales pitches to Jerry and Steven. Because we want to see our team do better, y'all. I don't like this feeling. I thought last year was enough of a bad taste in our mouth for us to get right. And what did Jerry and Steven do? They sat on their hands. They made excuses. They waited around. That's right. That's right, big time. That's the word of the hour. Truth. It's time for us to be truthful about what's going on in Dallas. It's time for us to be truthful about our offense. It's time for us to be truthful about our defense. It's time for us to be truthful about some coaches. But it's also time for us to be truthful with ourselves. What we got to stop doing is we got to stop promoting the goofy. We got to be more objective. If what we have currently on our plate ain't cutting it, we got to be truthful about it. Is this good for us? Do we need this? Can we do without this? We got to be truthful. Yes, the truth does hurt, but honesty is always the best policy. Because once you acknowledge the fact that you aren't good in a certain aspect, once you acknowledge it, you go back to the top. You put the leadership in place who will start to carry out these processes to evaluate your talent, to develop your players, to set and establish a culture. Then you start to strategically plan once you have your vision for the team, and you start making these acquisitions, and you start bringing these seasoned vets, these seasoned, experienced free agents on board to help you where some of your deficiencies are. Because guess what, y'all? We ain't got enough draft picks to fill the holes. We're going to have to be active in free agency. And then guess what? Once you acquire all this talent and bring all these individuals in, and you done filled out your 90 or whatever, and then training camp comes and you start trimming it down as you're still evaluating this talent, as you're developing this talent. You condition them, you get them up to speed, you get them in shape. Because I don't want nobody on my team who ain't in shape. Because you can't do a doggone thing for me. Because you are what we call a quick pumper. Couple pumps, it get good, and then you out. I don't need that. And then we got to manage these injuries. Because we suffered a whole lot of season-ending injuries this year. And honestly, some guys we won't even have who got hurt this year won't be at our disposal next year at all. Diggs might not be available. Overshown might not be available. And there may be some others who might not be available. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my sales pitch. I said if I had a moment and I could sit down with Jerry and Steven, this is what I would present to them. And I challenge you, look, in your free time while you're sitting at work, start jotting down things and putting it out there that you feel like this team needs to improve upon. We can't keep doing the same old two-step expecting different results. Because guess what? I told y'all, I'm an old player. Not like Jerome in the house old player from Martin, but I am a former player. And at the end of the day, if we take care of these points that I just laid out to you, if you're late, I'm going to run it down one last time. First step. Well, before we even get to the step, slow feet don't eat. We got to start moving. All of this quiet, we haven't had talk shit, we got to cut that crap out. Not only do you need to be talking to whoever you're going to have as your head coach, you need to start talking to these players who own contract years, who we need to re-sign, so you can go ahead and get them signed, create some more cap space, and start bringing in these players to help us. So we got to start moving with a sense of urgency, as Big Time stated earlier. So that starts with the leadership, talent evaluation, player development, culture, strategic planning, injury management, and fan engagement. Jerry and Steven, if you focus on those 7 things this offseason, you will definitely improve upon the product that you put out on the field. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate y'all for joining me. Good, better, best. Never let it rest until your good becomes your better and your better becomes your best. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my sales pitch to Jerry and Steven. And y'all be blessed.